Good day and welcome everyone, I'm Stefan Diedericks and you are watching Project Homegrown. In today's video, we will be transplanting the 7 lemon tree air layers that we started a few months back. And if you would like to see how to make the air layers, you can click the link on the video somewhere, one of these two corners. So before we start to transplant the air layers, we are going to first inspect the root development over the last few months. Also, we're going to have a look at what the different cuts for the air layers, the effect that they had on the root development. We will also be transplanting the air layers into homemade net pots that we are making, that we will be using to pot up the plants as the roots develop. So stick around and I will also be giving you a few tips and tricks and things to consider while doing your transplants regarding the weather, the season that you do your transplants, and things that will affect your success rate after cutting your air layers and doing the transplant. So a few months back, we air layered this lemon tree and we turned this one lemon tree into 7 new trees. The reason that you would want to do this is planting a lemon tree from seed and then having to wait 5 years before it's gonna produce fruit. So the solution would be to air layer your branches and then you transplant the full mature tree and then it will bear fruit usually within the next year. If you air layer correctly, you can even have your tree produce fruit while it is air layered. So this specific branch was my sacrificial branch that I opened regularly because I am too excited and I cannot keep myself from seeing what the roots look like. And you'll see it's a bit more messy than the other ones, but as you can see, the roots have developed up quite nicely. What we are gonna do now is we will open up all of the air layers and then we're gonna inspect the root development to make sure that they are ready to be transplanted. And then we also gonna see what effect the different cutting methods had on the actual root development of the air layers. So we're gonna open up the other air layers now, and if I remember correctly, this is one of the air layers that I started that I did not ring the entire branch but only sections. So I was a bit worried whether this one would actually root or not, and that's also one of the reasons this branch to the top did develop and ripen its lemons, where this one at the bottom where I ringed it all the way around, you will see the leaves are a bit more wilted and yellow because the only nutrients it was getting was from the soil that's inside the air layer pot. We can see the roots protruding through the bottom of the pot, so I know that it has rooted, but now we'll have a look at how well it rooted. I see I have a bit of an issue with the ants that nested inside this pot, and that's one of the things that go together with the aphid infestation that we had. The ants protect the aphids and they mine the phloem sugar that the aphids excrete. So at this point, I don't think it really matters what method or what cut you make on the air layering because this has rooted very well also. The one difference that I do notice though is I have much thicker single roots running down, and those will be easier to fan them out when you transplant them into their final pot. So there is a definite difference in the way the roots look like and develop when making those cuttings. I would use that method if you were going to do it in winter. You can do air layers any time of the year, but you'll have to consider whether it's a determinate or an indeterminate plant. If it loses its leaves during winter. If it loses its leaves during winter, I won't do the full ringing of the plant. The reason is the phloem that's produced by the leaves, it's basically the carb version of sugars for humans and plants, and that is what it's produced by the leaves, but it gets stored in new growth. So this new growth, it's basically sugars that are sent up through the phloem where the roots are also coming from. So plants store sugars in either new growth or in root development. So this branch, its root mass, it's quite dense. The thing is, all of these are supposed to be rooted quite well, because I left these air layers in here too long actually. I was supposed to transplant them 2-3 months back already, and now we are headed into winter and we've already had our first frost. But I am going to pot them up anyway because I want to experiment and see what happens if I make new air layers in winter, and to see if it can be done. But with evergreen plants, I'm pretty sure it's not really going to be an issue because the leaves are still producing sugars. And as long as there is sugars being produced, it will need to be stored either in new growth or in roots. This one was a full air layer and it is ready to transplant as well. So at this point I have no reason to think that any of these branches will fail. So I put a bit of insulation tape around the pots just to keep the pots together when I was adding in the soil. And all of this I used recycling things I already had. None of this was purchased. Okay, the insulation tape was purchased, but I had it laying about at home. Even here you can see I did not have extra planting pots, so I just used a regular butter tub. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, just gonna run it around. You will have to add some muscle in, and then what you do is you just cut it in a section and then you will twist it, and as you twist it, it will slide and cut a nice, clean, even cut. Just watch out so the branch does not fall on your head, just as I'm about to say it. And there you go, folks. We've got one lemon tree ready to be potted up. You'll hear I say pot up because the reason we pot it up is to have the root mass expand now, and then after the root mass has expanded this whole volume, at that point we can transplant it directly into the soil, or you can keep it potted. If we're gonna keep it potted, we will most likely transfer it to a pot closer to this size. We will also be trimming off the excess branches because we do not want all of this growth. We're gonna trim it down like a bonsai at the moment, and then it's gonna help to reduce the strain on the roots that are not yet big enough to support all of this foliage of this size plant. Just a side note, something to consider is you will also sometimes tease out the roots, because the cut around the base here, you can tease out the roots to the sides to have them spread out more evenly, so that when the roots establish in your pot, that it's not bundled together in a way that it's so compact that the roots actually can't escape its own root wall. Thank you for watching, and then please like and subscribe, leave a comment if you've got questions, or if you have some information that would be useful to this video, please add that into the video as well, and then we will make sure to improve as we grow.